this is how you want me to die, then just fucking do it already. It was that second after I said that internally that I was no longer in my body and I was in this space with God. No more pain, only feelings of bliss, unconditional love. I was experiencing being looked at by a presence that saw me as perfect. And the human language doesn't even come close to the experience I had. There is a supernatural power of God inside of each and every one of us, and we can never be separated from it.
These videos answer a lot of questions about why we're here, but I'm guessing you still have a few of your own. So join me for Wake Up Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern, where I'll answer your questions live. And I might even have a few surprise guests show up. Together, we're waking up the collective. Thank you for watching. My guest today is Scarlet Ravin, who had a near-death experience, and we are going to talk all about it because she came in awake. So, Scarlet, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I am happy to have you on the show. And I love that you brought your salt lamp energy behind you and your crystals. And I think all of these things are so special to the space, to creating energy and frequency so that we can really have a beautiful life.
Yeah, I agree. I have a Hertz generator running next to me too.
Okay, what in the world is a Hertz generator?
I don't know if it can reach the. You basically just plug in a Hertz and you can put like EMF blocking headphones and listen to it, but it also just off puts a certain Hertz. So if you're like cellular healing or God mode or, relaxation mode, there's just different.
So which one do you have set today?
932.
So do you know what did you say, 932?
It's supposed to be like the frequency of creator, God.
Beautiful. Okay, well, let's bring that energy into this conversation. I love it.
Yeah.
So you had a near-death experience, and I would love for you to start there, and you can tell it in any way that makes sense for you.
Okay. I was going on a romantic vacation back in 2019. So we end up traveling to Sri Lanka, and there was so many layers to this experience. Basically, right as I landed, I started getting sick. Um, Sore throat, kind of closing up in the nose, starting to feel a little feverish. It was an hour and a half drive to our hotel. We stayed at the southernmost tip. And by the time I got to the hotel, whatever I had was progressing very, very quickly. And it was also like 9:30, 10 in the morning. So part of my brain was like, I don't want to fall. I don't want to not experience this trip. I don't want to have jet lag. I should push myself. I should stay up. We should go into town. So that's what we did. We took a tuk-tuk into town. He wanted to shop. Um, as soon as we got to town, I was unable to breathe. So it was like you have to breathe to do anything. So walking, I couldn't walk. My head was starting to hurt. He wanted to stay in town and shop. So I took a tuk-tuk right back to the hotel and basically passed out. And the next thing I knew, when he got back to the hotel room, I was kind of in a delirious state. I didn't really remember. I was like, where are we? I didn't remember we were in Sri Lanka. My fever was really, really high. The pain that was coursing through my body physically was next level. And I just said, call the manager, let's get to a hospital. So he calls the manager of the hotel, says, what do we do? He gets a tuk-tuk for us. We go to a hospital. It's a small town, so these were really short little trips. And language barriers, so I'm kind of miming, can't breathe, this hurts, fever. I get a whole list of prescriptions. We go to the pharmacy. I fill every prescription, but I don't know what I'm filling. And my plan was I'll get home, I'll get into Wi-Fi, and I'll Google what they are before I take them. So we get back to the hotel, and as I'm going through these medications, the only one I feel like I want to take is the antibiotic. But then with that, you have to finish the course. And by then, my throat was closing up. And from silly me, I thought that I had been prescribed some type of a painkiller in one of them, but none of them were. And my goal at that point was really just to cut the pain in two. The pain had started getting to this place where I felt like I couldn't stand it. So I tell him, I'm like, will you go back to the pharmacy and get an Advil or an ibuprofen or something? And he's like, yeah, I actually want to go shop again. So I'll go shop, and on my way back, I'll bring you that medication. And I just lay back down. I pass back out. When he gets back, I wake up disoriented again, but my hand is out and I'm like, give me the freaking ibuprofen, something for the pain. And when he said he forgot, I had this like, I had this moment where I could see our entire relationship, but it was like in one split second. And I could see how this person wasn't who I thought this person was. And then the physical pain multiplied because then I had this emotional pain of like, I feel like an idiot. I just brought this person on a trip and they don't really even care about me. And I could kind of see the threads in our relationship that had already shown that I had ignored. So once my emotional pain got really high, the physical pain got worse. And then my ego was completely crushed because I felt like an idiot for taking this person on a trip. So I kind of lay back down in the bed and my eyes are closed and I'm feeling so much pain go through my emotional body, my mental body, and my physical body. And I felt helpless. And I'm normally like a fighter woman, like I can get through everything, see the positive side of everything. But at that point, my mind was like, there's no coming out of this. Like, I'm not going to physically survive this. And I'm not with someone I trust to take care of me. So I asked God, I said, God, if this is how you want me to die, I genuinely thought I was dying. I said, if this is how you want me to die, like away from my mom and my cats and everything that I love, then just fucking do it already. Like, take me. I literally was like, I'm done. Like, I'm drawing a line in the sand. And so I closed my eyes and I did a full 100% surrender. I meant it. Like, take me, I'm done. And it was that second after I said that internally that I was no longer in my body and I was in this space with God. I knew I was with God. No more pain, only feelings of bliss, unconditional love. I was experiencing being looked at by a presence that saw me as perfect. Like everything I had ever done or ever experienced was loved and nourished and absolutely perfect. I remember looking down and being like, okay, I don't have a body. Like I couldn't see my legs. And then the presence of God was this eternal light, but there was a horizon line to it. So it felt like I was like floating above a field of light, but there was no end to the light. And it didn't matter what direction I looked at, it was just this presence. So it didn't feel like it was like a body speaking to me or some type of a spirit speaking to me. It felt like it was just this all-encompassing, eternal blanket of energy. And I basked in that energy. So the one thing that I find really challenging about doing NDE interviews is like we use the human language, and the human language doesn't even come close to the experience I had. So even as I'm saying it, I'm like, man, there's no words that will ever, the only way I could ever convey this in an honest, truly way to someone would be like telepathically. There's no words that are ever going to encapsulate what I experienced. Because if you've ever felt being loved, every cell of your body, every decision you make is just completely loved and brought back to wholeness. It's otherworldly. And words put it in this box that it's not. So that was basically my experience. And then it felt like just intuitively, our time together was coming to a close. And whatever the experience was meant to be had occurred. And then I felt pressure, and then I was in my body, except for my health situation was completely different. It was like I was half healed. So I no longer had a fever. I didn't have pain coursing through my body. I felt like I had a bad cold or flu, where I was like, didn't feel 100%, but I also was nowhere near dying. And that was basically that was the experience of it.
Wow. Okay. So I have a couple of questions I want to ask you about the experience itself. So when you said you got into that place after you left your body and you're in this space where you're with this all eternal blanket of energy and you say this is God, how did you discern to know that it was God, which is probably a stupid question?
I just knew. I knew exactly what was going on. The only thing I didn't know was I didn't know why I was there when I was there. Like I didn't have an awareness of did I die? I never asked if I died. I never questioned that or had any communication around that. It was like I was just awestruck and then in the receptive mode of receiving being loved purely and truly and getting an experience of that. And I just something I knew was like, this is God. This is our creator. It's it's an energetic field. It's not a being. That's how I perceived it.
Yeah. So were there any other qualities besides the light that you saw?
The perfection of the love, the perfection of I think what everyone is seeking if they're have a spiritual practice or whatever and they want to evolve, they're seeking to feel this endless sense of peace and love inside their heart. It felt like I was in the presence of the end result. It was like that, but on steroids.
And can you describe the light? Is it a blinding light? Is it a diffused light? Is
No,
it
it was like yellowy. It was like a field of light. I mean, the closest I could describe it as would be if you're like in Kansas or whatever the states are that are just flat with crops. If one of those flat areas with crops had turned into like flickery white golden light, but then it was absolutely eternal. There was no end to it, and it was in every single direction around you because there was a space above it that wasn't that light that I would interpret as like the sky, but it wasn't the sky. So there was like a horizon to it, and everything at up into the horizon and below it was this light, and then above it was this differentiation of not the light,
wow?
space maybe,
So say it again. What?
maybe space like
Hmm.
but not as dark. It felt like it felt like I was on Earth, like in a dream world.
So because you just mentioned that it felt like you were on Earth in a dream world, how long did this happened in what year?
December 23rd, 2019.
Okay. So it's been a couple of years. We're in 2026 right now. Did this fade over what it was, like the brilliance of it when you first came back and had it?
No, like it's still my consciousness can still go there. I can still close my eyes and like feel the experience again.
So you can feel that love experience again if you need to.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's almost getting more potent the more I understand it. So, like initially, right after when I got back, I felt like I was in shock and survival mode. I didn't even have the space on the trip to even start processing or integrating what happened. And then, literally, right when we got back into the States, the whole world shut down. So then it was going through that entire process. And then it was the breaking up with this person. And then I was selling my house and moving out of state during a mandatory fire evacuation in Northern California. So the 18 months following when I got back, I was not even anywhere near having bandwidth to be able to look back at it, meditate on it, gather insight from it. It wasn't until I got into my new residence and started feeling safe again that I was like, what the fuck happened to me?
I
And
love
little,
that you just shared that. You know why, Scarlett? Because it gives it even more. emphasis on the realness of it, because if you had done that after a dream, there's no way it would have faded so much you wouldn't remember it. But the fact that you're saying that here we are like 6 years later, 7 years later, and you still not only remember it, but you feel like it's grown in power and that you can go into those feelings and feel them again as if you were just there, speaks volumes to these experiences not being of the human mind, not being a dream, because that's not how the mind works.
Yeah. Yeah. The more I get insight from it, it's almost like the less I even understand it because it totally dissolves how we understand this plane. And so, like, the further I get, because initially, when I first started trying to understand it, it's like, okay, so I went into this field of God, but now 6 years later, almost 7 years later, it's like, wait a minute, I speak to God. I have conversations with God. So I meditate and I ask questions. It's inside of me and outside of me. It's not a place I went to. I watched a lot of NDEs, and a lot of them are described like, we go to this other realm, this heavenly realm. But the more I'm understanding it and the more I evolve in my own consciousness, how can you say that a drop of water in the ocean is separate from the ocean? How can you say that the ocean is separate from that drop? There's no traveling. It's all just this one unit. So that's how I'm starting to really grasp it. And I can't really grasp it with my human analytical mind. It's something that I just stay in the curiosity of and can experience, kind of go to like an anchor to be reminded of what I really am and what we all really are and what we all really have inside of us. That there is a supernatural power of God inside of each and every one of us, and we can never be separated from it. We can only choose to be hypnotized out of not acknowledging it, or, confused to not spend time with it. But I'm 100% convinced it's inside of every single person, and the journey isn't outside of this body. It's right here, right now.
Wow, that's incredible. So when you are in front of God for the first time in that NDE experience, and you said that it loved every single cell of you and it made everything whole again.
Yeah.
So, sometimes people will say that they had a communication with God, telepathic communication, something. So, were you also having a kind of an exchange, or do you think God was actually just kind of like going through your body and just healing everything and bringing it back to homeostasis? And when I say homeostasis, I mean not the state of human homeostasis, but the soul state of homeostasis where we are perfect and love.
I would say, like, if you could imagine walking up to a being that's totally enlightened, maybe some people felt this with the guy from Autobiography of a Yogi, or,
Babaji and Yogananda.
yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
certain figures like that, you could imagine. The exchange felt like I was in the presence of something like that or someone like that, but more powerful. And they were gazing at me. And that gaze was reminding me in the moment that I'm already perfect. I'm already whole. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to do to prove anything to anybody. And every single thing, every thought, word, action that I've ever done on this planet is absolutely perfect. So that's what it felt like. It felt like I was being gazed at. And then through that gaze, that's how I was perceiving it. I was perceiving it as, holy shit, it's done. Like, enlightenment's already here. Like, there's nothing to change inside of me to gain something outside of me. It's all just sitting here waiting to be unveiled. And then this exchange unveiled it in that moment.
Wow. Because that means if you achieve that, then others can too, if they can figure out how to connect internally and go inside. And I think that that's where people talk about like opening the heart chakra and going inside. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's inside of every single person. I think that the spiritual art of becoming enlightened is about removing the programs that cover up this relationship that's just waiting to be nourished inside of everybody. I think that the way that the USA is designed is platformed on distraction. So it actually takes a significant amount of willpower at this point to just sit in the silence with this presence and not have it be exciting or like a short where you're scrolling and there's dopamine hits going on. Like enlightenment is quiet and still, and there's not going to be any fireworks. It's like you're sitting there watching a tight bud flower, but the flower's inside yourself, and you're just witnessing it turn into a blossom, and you're fascinated by it. So, like with my clients, what I witness a lot is people's brains right now. A lot of brains are thriving on external dopamine hits, which almost seems like this layer that makes them think, how could something exciting be inside of me? How could something, how could enlightenment just be sitting there? And it's like if you get quiet enough and you go out into the forest, people will report back, God, I just felt carefree and light when I was just, I don't know what happened, but I felt peace for at least a few minutes. And then what you do is you just start banking that time and you start getting more and more used to that time and less used to the external dopamine war that's going on. And then all of a sudden, your internal flower starts opening and you start loving yourself for no reason. You stop explaining yourself to people. You start shining and helping others just because it feels good.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. Scarlett, so much wisdom there. I feel like I'm having this conversation over and over and over again because I feel like I'm on repeat saying the same thing to people, which is we are being distracted. The news is one more distraction because once social media came on board, now the news has to fight harder to get our attention. And I think that this has perpetuated a lot of negativity, at least here in the US, about how people are feeling so off balance because it feels like everything is negative and everything is hitting them. And people are starting to pull that into their social media. All the time I hear somebody like, I had to unfriend this person because they had these views and they had this thing. And if we turned the news off, I swear to God, I challenge every person listening to turn the news off for 1 week. I've done it for 10 years. I don't even listen to commercials, like not even on radio. I have XM radio. I have YouTube premium. Like I don't even want to hear any commercials. And then go spend time in nature every day, and your life will be infinitely happier. And I would love to hear your take on that view.
So I moved to the middle of nowhere. My nearest neighbor, is like half a mile away. I have 50 acres. I live with horses. I live with cats. I have a flip phone as my phone. I don't
Love it.
I have an iPhone for apps, but that's business hours. It's not when I go out into the world, I'm not attached to Wi-Fi and I'm not attached to checking apps. I I intentionally designed my world to give myself the container to really figure out what happened to me. Since I was born, I knew that whatever I was seeing was not it, that there was something behind the veil of what was being shown in the 3D world. So I feel like my whole life has just been trying to uncover and remember that bigger truth. And I put myself in a 5 year period of a lot of isolation to just have tree time every day naturally. So I wouldn't be swimming upstream. I didn't want to fight the current. I just wanted it to occur naturally. And to be honest, now it's 2026. Now, for the first time in 5 years, I'm starting to get this itch. Like, I was like, I want to go back into society and I want to start teaching in person again. And I want to hug people again. And I want to be around people again. I feel like I've developed myself enough to be stable enough in the mainstream environment to actually stay true to who I am. But I did need 5 years of complete separation and isolation to stabilize myself because it's not easy. It's not, and the reason why I have a flip phone is because I was unable to not be addicted to checking apps. I recognized that in myself and I was like, I can't have an iPhone. It doesn't work for my brain. So I just made conscious decisions that would support this overarching goal. And now I feel like this chapter is starting to close, and then I'm going to have this new chapter of getting out into the world with what I've cultivated and start sharing that inner peace to the masses more in person. I obviously I do that all the time online, but it's different. I want to do it in person now.
Well, I think we're meant to because we did come here as spiritual beings to have an earth experience. But you said something that really intrigued me, and I have to know more about this. What is tree time?
So I have like my property has like mini sections of forests, and I've named all the forests, and I have a Bengal cat, so he's half wild, half domestic. He has to go on walks every day for at least 1 to 2 hours, or he's very emotionally disturbed. So I follow him around and we'll find places in the forest and just sit, and he watches the birds, and we're just having tree time for an hour, hour and a half. You know, the bird song has physiological benefits. It literally awakens stem cells. It can cure cortisol imbalances. Like the medicine is in the land, the medicine is in the trees, the medicine is in the birds and the badgers, and the horses have massive medicine. I started doing my meditations with the horses. That amplifies and expands things exponentially. So trees are not what a lot of people think they are. I don't feel like I'm even educated enough after all this time to even speak on it. All I know is that when I'm touching a tree or I'm next to a tree, infinite peace is my natural state,
This
whatever
is my
that means.
second tree conversation today. I'm part of Archangel Ancient Tree Archive. My friend David had an NDE where he had an angel come to him after his NDE, and he wrote this manifesto. He fell asleep during it. He woke up to 8 pages of perfectly written, no grammar errors, no spelling errors. And it was this manifesto that said, you will go and clone the ancient trees of the world. They have cloned the largest sequoia, the largest redwood. They've cloned live oaks. They've cloned things and replanted these beautiful, majestic, ancient trees all over the world at higher climate points than where they live now because the climate's been changing. And they've planted about 150,000 trees. And I'm connected to that organization. And I did a little bit of tree climbing with them. They were training me for some tree climbing. And the only limitation has been my time. But like you, I recognize from the time I was little how magical trees were. We would spend time in apple trees and under willow trees. And I remember walking with my great grandpa on his farm, and he would point out every tree. Oh, that's a white oak. That's a black oak. That's a hickory tree. And I wish that I had appreciated that more when he was alive, because to the good degree that trees are important in my life right now is really significant. And to have two conversations like this in one day, like there's no accident in that. And I guess I would ask, like, what would you say to people who don't have access to 50 acres of land and are not somewhere where they can feel like they can go spend the time that you spend in nature, but they want to? What would you tell them to do?
So, I mean, other than this 5 year chunk, I didn't have this either. And I spent 12 years traveling the world to major cities and studying with different teachers. There's a tree everywhere. When I would be in Ireland and my partner at the time would want to bar hop, there would be a little square with some benches with one massive tree next to the bar. I mean, they're everywhere. And yes, if you're in the middle of a city, I think that the massive amounts of energy that goes on in a city, it might dull the experience slightly, because when you're in the pure silence, I think it's quite amplified because you're going to be deciphering all these other things, but it's still there and you're still getting 100% of the benefit. So just touching it, putting your hand on it, breathing it, when I was in massage school, which was run by a Lakota sun dancer, and we got to school the first day, and he's like, "You guys think you're getting a massage certification, but this is really light warrior training school." So our assignments were really unique. Like we had to go find a tree, and we had to create a relationship with that tree for the whole 4 months of the school. We had to visit that tree every morning after spirit practice and have communications with the tree. We would have to do our qigong with the tree to learn how to pass energy back and forth. So whatever you focus on is going to expand. If you want to have this experience, it doesn't have to be in the middle of a nature. You can just go find a tree, focus on the tree. You'll feel the energy expand inside of you. For me, it's like infinite peace. Sometimes I cry at the beauty of what I'm feeling. I just feel like that, like not sad cry. I'm just in awe at how much beauty I'm experiencing. I have a pine tree in front of my house, and it just started shooting these massive globs of sap out of it. And I was like, I just started crying at how generous this tree was being. And I was taking these, because you can take them inside and put them on a charcoal and burn it. And then you like bring the spirit of the tree inside the house. I spent like an hour and a half collecting tree sap. Then I realized I was like, oh my God, I can collect it from like thousands. There's trees everywhere. So I got these huge jugs of this pine sap and I started blessing it all and sending it to friends and loved ones and just saying, like, be with this tree. Trees love that shit. They love it when you recognize their magic. They get more powerful. When you start sharing parts, not saying go strip a tree of its parts, be respectful, feel what's right to take at the time, but they love that. They love when you share their magic with others. It amplifies their power on the planet.
Yeah, don't make the tree the giving tree. Please don't do that. But the trees are sentient beings. And David and I talk about this, that they're antennas. And they also regulate chemicals and allergies in people. They have chemicals that they release that actually can regulate different types of allergies in people and different types of disease states that people get. They've studied this. I mean, there's so much science that's going to come in to show us that trees are not at all what we thought they were.
Exactly. I agree.
I love a conversation like this. This is so wonderful. So you come back and you did mention something that I have to have you expand upon, which was that since your experience and after you started to integrate it after that 18-month period, you said that you could sit and you could go back into that connection with God and you could ask questions. So I would love to know some of the questions that you've asked and some of the answers that you've gotten to things that maybe have surprised you, floored you, awed you in those
Yeah.
conversations.
Um, I would say the most prominent ones, the most questions where I feel like it's really dire to get an answer. I was diagnosed with a handful of diseases that Western medicine said was incurable. And in times like that, I think that's when people turn to God a lot more fiercely. My life is so blessed. I mean, I have a company, White Fox, that I serve people. So when I'm really wanting answers, it's times like that. And, I got back from the doctor's office getting their black magic fear-based analysis. And then I come home and I just sit with myself and I'm like, what do I actually do here? Like I do feel scared because I was in the presence of this person that made me feel scared with how they were talking. And then when I do research online, it agrees with how this person was talking. But I have a power inside of me and I know you're there and I want you to tell me what to do to get whole again. So those were questions that I asked. And then the guidance was detox. You're sick from the fires you inhaled. I was in Northern California and I inhaled years and years of smoke. I mean, that area is basically almost constantly filled with some type of fire smoke. So I was basically just directed by God on how to heal myself. And it started with the physical body, detox the physical body, get an infrared sauna, change your diet to this. I was guided to do one meal a day, fasting, and then do a keto diet. And then it went into my mental body, and I had to give up. I was smoking cannabis to go to sleep. I had to give up cannabis so that I could process the PTSD from barely escaping the fire. So God was basically just saying, every time I ignored Western medicine, I had these conversations over the course of 3 months with God, and I would say God cured me of all the diseases. And then that's how I built the school. I built the school based on God's answers of, it wasn't just special for me, it's how any human can cure any disease. Like God was showing me that, like, you can divide the human experience into four parts, which makes it easier for the human brain to get. Where you have the physical body that you treat, you have the mental body, you have the emotional body, and then you have alignment with the soul or the God within. And when you purify each of these different pillars of the human experience, you can become whole again. Or you can just have a miracle occur and you can become whole instantly. But if someone can't reach that level of alignment like that, there's an actual structured process people can walk through while facing that power within and turning their backs to the fear-based propaganda that is Western medicine.
And Western living in
Western
general.
everything.
It is Western everything. So I would imagine that you've had other questions beyond the healing that you asked God about. Can you share a few other things?
Yeah. So I basically just moved to where I am. I'm in Southern Colorado. I've been here maybe 18 months or just 2 years or something like that. And I was starting to feel oddly depressed. Like I'm doing everything I love, but I felt stuck. And I just turned to God and I said, what am I really doing here? Like, why is this coming up in me? And God said, this chapter is closed for you now. You need a new chapter. And then I'm like, well, what does that new chapter mean? And God's like, it means people. It means you move into a busy area. So throughout that process, I was directed to different towns to look at, I mean, for someone like me that's dreamed about living like this my whole life, to think I'm still going to be living like this because I'm always going to have a horse ranch. My horse are my children. But to think of being surrounded, I think one of the things I've struggled with my whole life is being super, super sensitive. So it's always been a challenge to feel whole around a lot of people. And the answer to me was that's not going to be a challenge for me anymore. So I can definitely feel like, yeah, there's a little fear. Are you sure? Like, am I going to lose everything I've cultivated? And the answer is just no. So major life decisions like that, instead of me going to a doctor and saying, I'm depressed, give me an SSRI, I go within and I ask a question and I say, why is this coming up for me? Where's the medicine in this? And it was just showing you chapters closing, open to a new part of my life.
Was there anything about the human experience and what we're doing here, maybe the purpose of humanity that you ever asked God about?
Yeah, I have. We're here to remember this. What you and I are talking about right now, we are only here. This is gonna, it always freaks people out because people need a to-do list and they need to know how to make money and they need to know how, but that is the programming. That's literally the programming talking when people say that stuff. The only thing we're here to do is completely remember this, that there's this power of our creator inside of us and we're here to remember it and activate it and then create a new world. That's it. Like, period. It's
Scarlett, you're talking my language. I'm so glad you just said this. Like, it took me a long time on this channel to get brave enough and in my lives to say that because people can't believe it. They have a hard time thinking that the whole purpose is for the experience and the joy of waking up and remembering what you were. And somebody said in an interview where they thought this was more of like a prison planet and that we're trapped, they said, oh, that can't be true because if that were the case, as soon as you would wake up, you would leave. But I think it's the exact opposite. As soon as you wake up, you're like, oh, shoot, this is what it is. Oh, now I get it. And you want to tap everybody else and wake them up too. You have no desire to leave. Why would you? You're just going to run your course because you're here for the joy of the experience. So I think it's the opposite. So I would love you to speak about that.
Yeah, when I hear people, and I said that in my teens. I thought this was a prison planet too, even though I was born, in my opinion, more spiritual than most people. If you allow the pain of the 3D programming to speak for you, that's what you say. And until the consciousness evolves to a certain point of actually seeing what's going on, there's veils to what people see. Like, I could be in the room with 10 people. We could all be looking at the same situation in front of us, and we're all going to see something completely different. That's conscious awareness levels. It's what frequency we're vibrating at. And when we hit
Oh,
a certain level of
interesting.
consciousness, we see the game being played. We see the programming, and then we see our power as separate. And then we're no longer held and weighed down by these chains of the programming speaking through us. If you allow your pain to speak for you, you're going to think this is a shithole planet. If you allow the miracle of your inner God to speak through you, you're only going to see miracles and beauty in absolutely everything around you. Even the shitty experiences is a blessing, because there are souls that don't get to be here right now that would trade places with you in 2 seconds to have this soul evolutionary experience. This is a school, it's a remembrance school. So even if you're having a shitty time or you're struggling, that's benefiting your soul, whether you're aware of it or not. And the people that are beyond the veil that don't have bodies right now, they know that. And they want to be here and they want to advance consciousness. All God wants to do is advance consciousness. So every experience, advanced consciousness, we're all winning. Every second of the day, we've all already won. We've all already accomplished the goal. Whether people can see that or not is the question.
That there's so much beauty and wisdom in what you just said. I love everything about that. And it is interesting because when you started to explain it, where you said you could have 10 people in the same room, all looking at the same thing, and they all have a different filter, I thought you were going to say it was because of their perceptions, but you went a different direction that surprised me a little bit, but makes complete sense. It's because their level of awareness. Now, I want to caution this part of the conversation because I don't want people to feel like when we say level of awareness that there is a good, better, best, because you, Scarlett, and I both know on the other side, there is no such thing as good, better, best from a soul perspective. And it's hard sometimes to talk about these things because the ego wants to jump in and make it good, better, best, but it's not. So please speak to this a little bit more, because I think that this is such an important gold nugget. I want people to really hear you.
So I'll just use my own self as an example. When I was a child, I had a lot of emotional pain, and I had great parents, but they had their own limitations. And there were certain traumatic moments for me in my childhood that even when I got to my teen years, I would look at that moment and I would blame my parents for causing me pain. Now that I am who I am and I'm more evolved and I have an expanded consciousness, I can look back at the exact same situation and say, they were training me on how to become more evolved and more close to my soul, because I went through that pain as an adult and I dissolved it. And through that experience, I became more myself. I became closer to the God within. If we don't have contrast, we're going to be sedentary. So the contrasting moments pushes us deeper into these moments with God. How did I even have my NDE? I was physically suffering, thinking I was dying, in the most pain I've ever felt in my whole life. And it pressurized me to get so close to God. So all of these really shitty, hard, traumatic moments are your opportunity to get pushed up right into God. That's my experience. So was I bad as a child and I'm good now? Absolutely not. It's just a different level of conscious awareness. And I still have stuff that I'm working on. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm absolutely perfect and I'm done. I'm not anywhere close to done. But what I have developed through discipline And consistency of controlling my mental thoughts is I make myself stay connected to that God power within, because my ultimate goal is to see this world through the eyes of God, not through my past pains, not through the programming of the 3D world. And the closer I get to those eyes, the more I see miracles and bliss everywhere. So that's kind of what I mean by it's a consciousness state, and that everyone's going to see every situation differently. And by the way, we all need each other. We all need those differing perspectives, because we're all the ocean. We're not even separate from one another. So the people that are experiencing more pain compared to others are helping the people that aren't. It's all this interconnected web of consciousness expansion. We just happen to look divided into different bodies right now, but we're not.
I agree 100%. And I also want you to expand a little bit on the statements you made about how we should be grateful that we're here having this experience, because there are a lot of other souls who wish that they were here right now during this awakening period because they know what we're doing here. How do you know that? And what can you share about that?
So I'm definitely super psychic, or whatever you want to call that. I don't like to talk about that because I will never do a reading for someone. And I think everyone's job is to awaken that flower inside of themselves. It's not to be used as, if I were to use it to help someone else, I think it would be crippling the other person with the perspective of helping them. So I do see beyond the veil with my eyes open or my eyes closed. I can have conversations with other beings that aren't in a body. I have a lot of stuff that I do in my dream time where I travel to different realms and talk to different beings. And I've sat in certain councils and had different experiences where, there's levels to the soul evolving. And the truth of it, even though it looks the opposite to us, is the most evolved souls are in the body right now because they're getting the opportunity to evolve. And the ones that aren't in the body, not that they feel left out, but they definitely feel, I can't wait for my turn. And that's something that I remember every time I wake up or I have a bad day or something, I think something shitty is happening to me. I immediately correct myself and I say, Scarlet, you're lucky to just be here right now. Don't let your ego cloud this and turn this into a story of humanity. You're just lucky to be here. And if you can have that baseline of gratitude and awareness in your life, what happens is that you become really close to who you are in your soul's body, because your soul doesn't care what the experience looks like. Your soul just wants to have the experience. So if I was in a car wreck a few weeks ago, if you're in a car wreck, your soul's like, holy shit, like I've never had this experience. And then the human brain's like, oh my God, insurance. And then it's like, if you can just realize, oh my God, I'm having an experience on earth. What is the medicine in this for me? Show me the magic, God. And I had magic come through. When your mindset rests at that level of consciousness and you think everything is medicine for you, then everything becomes medicine for you because you're the creator of your existence. So what turned into something that I thought was shitty for a second, I asked that question, there's medicine in this for me, God, what is it? It turned into a massive paycheck for me with no injuries for anyone. It was an alchemical transmutation process to give me more freedom. So every single thing that's happening to every single person has medicine inside of it, and a miracle, a little gem of a miracle inside of it. And it's our job to be conscious of those things inside of the experience. That's what tethers me close to the eyes of God.
We're saying the same thing in different ways. I love the way that you said that everybody has the medicine inside of an experience that will help them in some way. I say it as everything is happening for you and not to you. And we've had a lot of discussions about this on this channel. I think it's a very difficult place for a lot of people to get to, because it's easy, even when it's happening, like, for example, in your car wreck, to have the mind go into, oh, shoot, the insurance and the downtime and all those other things. But when it happens, and you recognize that you're doing it and you're reacting and you turn it around, I feel like you regain some little ounce of power in the powerfulness of your soul that you didn't have before. And the more and more you do that, the less you wind up reacting. And then life just seems to be more in the flow.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that 100%.
So beautiful, these perspectives. And I feel like everybody has all these little puzzle pieces. And we can take this puzzle piece and this one fits in mine. I like this. I like, but if it doesn't work, you just throw it away and you're like, oh, that puzzle piece doesn't fit, because nobody has all the answers, but we all have little pieces that give a different perspective or say something a different way that hits somebody a different way, which is so beautiful. So I want to hear a little bit more about this psychic ability and how you navigate life differently because you have this ability to tap in. So aside from understanding that there's a medicine that's there to help you in all of the situations, what else has this done for your life or helped you with?
I would also say like that was a big reason why I wanted to live in the middle of nowhere. I kind of wanted a break from feeling energetically overwhelmed on a consistent basis. And and also that it's not always like that for me. If I can gain some sense of continuous stability with who I am and my connection to God, then it will become a constant gift and not feel like gift burden kind of a thing. So I would say that when I'm serving clients, I would never tell them what I'm seeing beyond the veil, but I think it does influence how I'm able to help them in a way. And it makes me able to be more sensitive to where they're coming from so that I can then use language that they can receive. So it definitely helps me on the client level. In terms of my company, White Fox Medicine, all of the formulas are channeled. So like when I would go through a certain physical experience where I had nervous system issues from being hypersensitive to everything, I had a formula come to me. And it was the exact levels of each different herb, how to extract the herbs, put it into a bottle, and then I took that and then that healed my nervous system. So it's part of how I run my company, even though I don't put that on my, well, some of the products on my website will mention the spiritual messages from the plants, but I don't primarily promote that way. Um, so it feels like it's like a silent superpower that I get to use to nourish how I can serve people. When I first started taking clients, I was doing readings. And what would happen was the people would just want to book me every week. And I started feeling like a crutch for certain people. And I just stopped. I took the website down. I said, this feels wrong, and I don't know why it feels wrong. And then it took a few years to think I would rather teach people how to develop this in themselves than just give it out the way I was giving it out. And also some of the premonitions that I had for certain friends that I told them while they came true, it also seemed like it made them a little mad. So it didn't feel like, I think when I was younger and I had a bigger ego, it was cool, and people came to me and it felt like, ooh, I'm kind of special. But now as I'm more mature, I don't want to be that to other people. I want to be this, I want other people and I to be on the exact same playing field. I don't ever want to lift anyone up and I don't want anyone to lift me up. That disables people's power and I'm here to empower people. So that's kind of what I took away from it is everyone can have these beyond the veil experiences. Everyone. It's not just my special gift. So how I teach and how I serve now is to get people to wake up to that.
So can you give us one tip that pretty much anybody watching could use to help wake themselves up a little bit more, to be more in touch with that power of who they are and their gifts?
I think the most potent tip is going to rest in the silence. So if people can start cultivating 5 minutes of silence with themselves every day, it'll start compounding over time. And if you can do 10 minutes, awesome. If you can do 15 minutes, awesome. But if you sit down and you set your intention, I like to set my intentions through open-ended questions. For some reason, that makes me more magnetic. And I'll just sit down and just say, what would it look like if I saw this world through the eyes of God? That question awakens psychic abilities. That question gives you premonitions. That question shows you how to serve yourself and heal yourself. You just have to be quiet enough to hear the answer. And also, spoiler alert, the answer is going to come whether you're quiet or not. But your internal powers, I shouldn't say you, my internal powers grew in my silence. They didn't grow when I was surrounded by people. They didn't grow when I was out at bars and restaurants and things like that. They grew and became really nourished in my own silence. It could be different for someone else. But I'd say ask an open-ended question. You don't have to use the word God. You can say source, or I just say don't say universe, because the creator created the universe. So you're not really at the level of the creator when you say universe. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but ask open-ended questions like that. What would it look like if you saw this world the exact same way our great spirit did? And then let the question go, and then go about your day, and your whole life is going to start to change. And the slower you move, if you can move like you're in a swimming pool for 7 days, like that's how fast you can walk because you're surrounded by water. If you can move and get your nervous system to start lining up with the frequency and the speed of the earth, that also awakens exponential levels of beyond the veil activity. The speed, because what's going on beyond the veil, you have to be present to be able to witness it. And a lot of people are moving at this speed where they haven't been present in years. They're kind of going through the motions of life, and they're paying bills and they're answering emails. And if you slow down, the world changes.
Wow. So I'm curious, we covered a lot of things here. And for those of you who are watching, if you got this far, what struck you the most? Was it Scarlett's NDE? Was it what she talked about source, about the power of who you are, about the healing? And if you just want to comment, waking up the collective or collective, just that you got this far in the video, I would love for you to hear it. This always helps the channel. So thank you so much. Before we go on to the last part of this, can you get your cat and bring your cat on camera? I just want to see your cat. I feel like animals are our best example of unconditional love, and I just want to see this cat.
He's sleeping right here. Yeah, I'll grab him.
I'll wake mine up too.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry, baby. It's for an interview. He doesn't really like to be held.
Oh, Blaze, come here. You're here. Come here. Come
Okay.
here.
But
Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, beautiful. He's so big. How much does he weigh?
He's actually kind of a small cat. He's 10 pounds. I'm a small person, so that's probably why he looks so big. I'm like a tiny bird. Oh, look at that puppy, Mooney.
My
See the
girl.
puppy? Oh, he's so soft looking.
She is 11 months old, and she's a German short-haired pointer, and she is the most loving dog. This dog, if she could crawl into my soul, she would.
Oh, what's her name?
Her name is Blaze.
Oh, Blaze. Did you see
Her
Blaze?
full name is Blazing Star.
Oh,
Here again. Come here.
he wants to go.
I love this. That cat is so cool.
Yeah, he's cool looking.
I had to do that. Thank you for for doing that. That's so cool. Well, I would imagine, Scarlett, that there are people watching right now who would love to know how they can connect with you, what you're doing, what you're working on. So tell us everything. And these medicines too, you can go into more detail about it because we didn't really go very deep into it, but I know that you use these things for healing also. And I love that they're downloaded.
Yeah, the formulas are awesome. White Fox Medicinals is the company. This was the first channel formula that I made. I mean, they're cosmic. They're present in the 3D realm, but they're prayed over. Everything's organic, and I package everything in violet Miron glass, which is
What is that?
it's an imported glass from Switzerland, so only violet rays of light enter the medicine, which means the medicine increases in potency and bioavailability as it sits. It's like, you know how people do light treatments? The medicine's all getting a violet ray of light treatment while it's sitting in the
Wow.
bottle. You can feel the you can feel the difference in the medicine. For people like me that are super sensitive, like if I buy store-bought granola and the person that was making that granola was angry when they were making it, I can taste like the anger in the granola. So I bring that level.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it can be. It makes my diet kind of, well, now I can now I can pray over things and kind of transmute it first, but I just took that information into making my medicine, and I make sure that I'm in a good state, that everything's prayed over, that all the vibrations are super high when I make it. And that company is whitefoxmedicinals.com. I've had it since 2007. And we don't really do marketing or advertising because everything works. So the client base tells their friends and it kind of dances around the earth through people's hearts. And
You're only the
then,
second person who's ever said, and it's again somebody else who's connected to medicines that were downloads for him as well, David. And I, I just think that it's incredible that somebody could be sensitive enough to feel the vibration of somebody who made something. And I think that that speaks volumes about how powerful our thoughts are, that somebody could actually taste the bitterness of somebody being in a bad place, a bad mood when they were creating something. That's insane.
yeah, yeah, I really, really don't like eating in restaurants because it makes it challenging for me to enjoy my meal. There's just so much input going on, especially when I'm doing a meal. I want to eat my meal in silence. And in this culture, like it's normalized to eat it over with a bunch of people, but my preference is like I really want to be in silence and I don't want anyone talking to me when I'm eating. But I can bend on that rule sometimes. Um, and if people want to go through the school that I created of how I healed myself, that's the Sacred Dose School, and it's on the school platform, the SKOOL school
I just
platform.
heard about this yesterday for the first time.
That's a really cool platform because I also have my code. You can stack. I had all my courses on these different websites, and I just got on the school platform and I put all my courses. So like the Sacred Dose is subscription and it's $22 a month, and then you can go through every pillar and how to purify and heal every pillar and become one with the creator within again. But then there's these other tabs where you can go and do these other workshops that I've created. So I love it. I think it's a really cool platform, and my students love it. They say it's super easy to navigate.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. They said it's growing and they keep on adding all types of different flexibilities within it.
Yeah, and we do group live meditations, so you can all just join. Like they even have a video hosting thing on there, and then you can record it for the students that couldn't make it, and you can just easily repost it for those students. It's cool. I'm not
Thank
advertising
you.
for them. I'm
No,
just happy about what they've created.
that's wonderful. So, Scarlett, I have one last question for you. What do you know for sure?
That we're all God.
I think that's a mic drop.
I know that for sure. I feel like that's the only thing I know for sure, though.
Beautiful. Well, Scarlett, thank you, thank you, thank you for this conversation, for your vulnerability, for sharing all of these experiences that you have integrated over the last several years. And I want to thank you for what you are doing to wake up the collective. It is so needed right now.
I want to say the same to you. Thank you for what you're doing and for creating this place for us to come together. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. This is the best part of my day to be able to have a conversation like this. And of course, this channel is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch, to listen and to share these experiences with someone who needs it. And if you still have questions, don't forget you can join me for Wake Up Wednesdays live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm Lori Micah. If you like stories that open your heart and expand your soul, hit subscribe. This channel is Waking Up the Collective.